Hi, Junko. Let's take a look at what you wrote. We've got the school subjects in Germany. Let's see what you said. The pie chart shows students' favorite subjects at school in Germany in 2017. It is clear that there were 4 major subjects and 7 study subjects. PE was the most popular subject at 22.9%. History had the second highest popularity at 22.4%. Subsequently, maths and physics were at 19.5 and 18.1 respectively. Those 4 categories accounted for around 4/5 in total. Good. In contrast, it can be seen that the least popular subject was IT at 3.7%. Geography and biology followed at 6.4 and 7.1 for each. To summarize, there can be observed 2 trends which show the popularity of PE and history while the least IT. Okay, so grammar is good. Vocabulary was fine. And I liked this sentence, that these 4 categories, etc., etc. That was good. The rest of it felt really, really mechanical. So what do I mean by that? Mechanical is a word that IELTS examiners use to talk about writing in task 1 that feels like there's no analysis, there's no kind of thought behind it. It's just presenting the numbers and nothing else. Okay, now what I'm saying is a little tricky because while you're not supposed to go into like some philosophical reason as to why the student selected these subjects, you are supposed to do a little bit more with these figures than just tell me this was 22.9, this is 22.4, this was 19.5. Okay, there's supposed to be a little bit more critical thinking than that without going too far in the other direction. So, let me tell you what I mean here, okay? Let's see. So you were fine here. You said PE was the most popular subject at 22.9%. History had the second highest popularity with a negligible difference of 0.5% popularity compared to history, or rather, I'm sorry, compared to PE. So something like that, you're showing how these numbers relate to each other. You're showing somehow how they compare and how they, kind of interact. So maybe you don't want to say it like that because maybe it sounded a little awkward, which it probably did. So PE was the most popular subject at 22.9%. Coming in at 0.5 less was history, the second most popular subject. Okay, and then you could say the following 2 most popular subjects both had less than 20% popularity each. Namely, maths was 19.5%, and rounding out the top 4 was physics at 1.4% less. Then you could say these 4 categories together accounted for around 4/5 in total. So do you see what I'm doing? I'm not doing something like radically different, but it is enough to show that there's some thought, there's some kind of comparison, there's something going on here that's just a little bit fuller. Now here, what could you have said? You could have said, in contrast, it can be seen that the least popular subject was IT at 3.7%. This was nearly 6 times less than the most popular subject. Okay? Rounding out the 7 subjects were geography and biology. While geography had 6.4% popularity, biology scored slightly higher at 7.1, which is nearly twice the figure of IT. Okay, again, so you can see I'm making these links to these figures. The reason why you want to do that is because, as you can see, there's only 7 pieces of data here. So you're really going to have to stretch them out to show some meaningful connections here. Okay, so that's how you do these. Now, these aren't really, really common in IELTS where you have very little information to deal with, like this, where there's only 7 data points, but they do happen occasionally, and I find that they're the ones that students have the hardest time with. So it's important to learn how to make connections and how to kind of stretch it out, because that does sometimes happen. All right, let's take a look at your task one then. I said task one, but I meant your task two. All right, so let's take a look at this about online communication. Nowadays, experts throughout both the developing and developed world have debated the increase in online meetings and less face-to-face communication. Okay. Although some believe that interaction on the web has been a negative impact on people's health or building a relationship, personally, I strongly agree that more advantages to online communication than off-site communication. This essay will argue the merits of web-based meetings using examples from a survey report in a Japanese consulting firm and an Australian research institute to demonstrate points and provide. Okay. On the whole, it's fine. There are a couple of things that I want to fix here, though. All right, so let's do that. This for me was not really specific. It was rather vague. You said that they're debating the increase in online meetings and less face-to-face communication. Where is the debate? That I don't understand. So you said that there's this debate, but I didn't understand what the debate was about, like what the debate is over. Like, where is the controversy here? Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe you could have rephrased this. So, not that they've debated it, but maybe they have turned their attention to the increase in online meetings and subsequent less face to face communication. Maybe something like that. But I definitely felt like there was something off here. So, although some believe that interaction on the web has a negative impact on people's health, this was strange to me. Has a negative impact on relationship building. That would have made more sense. Personally, I strongly agree that there are more advantages to online communication. This didn't make sense. Off-site communication. I don't think you mean that. I think you mean face-to-face. I think you mean in-person communication. Okay, and the rest of it was fine. On the one hand, there is ample evidence that there are many enormous merits to online communication. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, people can access, this doesn't work, time-saving approach. I think you mean something else. I think you mean this time-saving approach to connect to others or join a meeting without waiting for a specific day and moving physically. Okay, so, okay. Secondly, meetings can be held virtually and people can participate anywhere across the globe instead of traveling, which may be costly. All right, that's better. For example, recent empirical research in 2021 by a consulting firm in Japan demonstrated that 90% of all face-to-face meetings have been replaced by online meetings, you're missing a word, causing an increase in the number of overseas partners and an expansion of its business. You're missing a word here. It must not be forgotten that although this was also due to the COVID, careful. You don't want the although. Here's what you want. You want here, however, it must not be forgotten that this was also due to the COVID-19 pandemic situation. I would get rid of this sentence. It doesn't help your argument. This is not supposed to be like a particularly factual or realistic representation of what's going on in the world. So you don't have to include this sentence, even though, maybe you're right. It doesn't help your argument. So just leave it out. Therefore, it is conclusively clear that online communication is a time-saving and cost-effective method in an era with and after Corona. Okay, so there's stuff I want to talk about, but you know what? I really would rather wait until we finish this task 2, and then we'll talk about it more. On the other hand, although there is a case for internet-based meetings and chatting on business, I don't understand that, and chatting on business, no, you mean something else. Although there is a case for internet-based meetings and chats favoring many professionals, the impact of online communication cannot be overstated. That's better. This is largely because of people's sedentary lifestyles due to internet society. For example, an extensive study by an I don't know where I saw the word Austrian, sorry, by an Australian institute showed that over a 10-hour sedentary work showed that a, over a 10-hour sedentary work day, not A, get rid of A, may have an increased mortality risk of 40% compared to less than 4-hour sedentary work. Consistent with this line of thinking is that an increase in online meetings will cause a human's unhealthy lifestyle. All right, you know what? Will cause an unhealthy lifestyle sounds so much better. Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt that sitting in chairs and watching displays all day may cause one, that's a nice word here, may cause one to become vulnerable, both mentally and physically. To conclude from the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that online communication outweighs face-to-face interaction. It is predicted that the significance of online interaction will increasingly grow in importance. Okay, so in a lot of ways, I thought this was really good. I liked a lot of it. I thought it flowed well. There were some mistakes that we already kind of pinpointed. I want to make sure you're talking about the right thing, and I want to make sure that you're developing well. So let's take a look at a couple of things. Okay, so the first place that I want to focus on is your is your first body paragraph. Before we do that, though, I want to remind you what the question is. In many workplaces, online communications are now more common than face-to-face meetings. So this is the given. This is what you're kind of working with, that they're assuming this to be true. And so you have to kind of function with this as a reality, whether it's true or not, or whether you believe it. This is the given that you have. So then you have to respond to this. Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? So what are they telling us? They're telling us that around the world, we don't meet people in our jobs as much as we have online meetings. So most workplaces nowadays are moving more and more towards any type of online communication. So that could be online meetings, that could be email, that could be chatting, that could be texting. So everything is moving online rather than face to face speaking to another person. This is the given. This is the hypothesis that they've given you. You have to assume to be true. So they want to know if there are more advantages of this than there are disadvantages. So I want to go through your first body paragraph where you said that these were the advantages. You said that they can access a time-saving approach without waiting for a specific day or moving physically. This for me was really rather awkward on a lot of levels. So I felt like you weren't really saying what you wanted to say. So what does that mean? They can access to time-saving approach. How do you join a meeting without waiting for a specific day and moving physically? I didn't get that. Maybe you meant that people can meet online, say, hey, let's jump on, I don't know, some meetings platform now and talk it over. Maybe this is what you meant, but because of the language, it wasn't really expressed very clearly. So you have to be careful with that. Okay, and then, so you already said that we don't have to wait for things, but now you also said that we can participate around the globe instead of spending money on costly travel. Okay. And now here, this is where I thought you were actually talking about what you should have talked about. You said that this shift has increased the number of overseas partners and expansion of businesses. I thought this is what you really needed to focus on. So you're talking about the advantage of this. You know what? One of the greatest advantages is that people are making so much more money now. We're not limited by time or space. And so, the sky's the limit. For example, this because we no longer are limited by space, we can have partners all around the world, and this increases revenue by 80%. Another benefit is that we do not have to, uh, you know, find times that we don't have to delay looking for mutually convenient times to meet in person, because now, thanks to the different meeting platforms, business can be conducted on the very same day. Okay, really just making processes so much more efficient, and this means better profit, basically. Okay, so this was one way you could have talked about this, that this shift is a given, we know it's happening, but look at all the positives that it brings us. Okay, so that's something I would have liked, just highlighting really more of this is what you should have emphasized. Okay, and then here, okay, sedentary lifestyle, fine. Yeah, but you know what? If we're even meeting in person and we're having these a lot of times you have meetings and conferences and whatever, you're still sitting down a lot. So I don't know that this is necessarily a valid argument. Okay. Maybe you could have talked about something else. Maybe you could have talked about something like Zoom fatigue. Or maybe you could have talked about the fact that, even though we're creating all of this efficiency in our workplace, what is now lost is the human connection, that we're not engaging and we're not developing relationships with our colleagues, because for us, they are just somebody who gets things done for us or helps us progress in our job, rather than be a person who we actually develop a collegial relationship with. So maybe you could have talked about that a little more. So on the whole, it's good, but I just want to give you some suggestions on how you can make this even better. So keep at it, keep going, and I'll be waiting for your next set. Okay, good luck.